140 million euros. That's Pedri's current market value. For context, that's more than what Liverpool paid for Virgil van Dijk, Real Madrid paid for Vinicius Jr., and Manchester City paid for Jack Grealish. But watching him orchestrate Spain's 6-0 demolition of Turkey last week, you start to think maybe that's actually cheap. Today, we break down exactly what makes Pedri so special. Pedro González Lopez, that's his real name, but the football world simply calls him Pedri. Born in a small town called Tereste in Tenerife, this kid wasn't supposed to make it to the top. Think about it, the Canary Islands. They aren't exactly known for producing world-class footballers, but sometimes talent finds a way. At 16, Las Palmas spotted him. At 17, Barcelona came knocking, and by 18, he was already being compared to Xavi and Iniesta, two names you don't throw around lightly at the Camp Nou. The Golden Boy Award in 2021, becoming the youngest player ever to represent Spain at a major tournament. The resume was building fast. But here's where it gets interesting. Everyone expected him to be good. Few expected him to be this complete this quickly. The pressure of filling the boots of Barcelona legends could have crushed him. Instead, it seems to have made him better. So, what exactly transformed Pedri from a promising youngster into what Spain's coach, Luis de la Fuente, calls the best in the world in his position? Let me paint you a picture of how Pedri plays football, because it's genuinely beautiful to watch. First, his positioning. Most midfielders stick to their zones like they're glued there. Pedri, he roams like he owns the entire pitch. He drops deep to collect the ball, drifts wide to create overloads, and then pops up between the lines where defenders can't touch him. It's like watching a chess master who's always 3 moves ahead. His passing is where the magic really happens. Last season, he was among the top midfielders in Europe for successful passes in the opponent's half. We're talking about threading balls through the tightest spaces, switching play with perfect weight, and creating chances others can't even see. When Barcelona are struggling to break down a defense, they give it to Pedri and let him work. But here's what separates him from the other creative midfielders. He's not just pretty to watch. The guy actually defends. He's among La Liga's top performers for blocks and defensive actions. When the ball's lost, he's the first one pressing. When his team needs to recover possession, he's right there in the mix. And the mental side? This is where Pedri really shines. The composure under pressure is incredible. 3 defenders closing him down? No problem. Receiving the ball with his back to goal in a tight space? Easy. It's like the game slows down for him while everyone else is scrambling. What really impresses me, though, is his humility. In interviews, he constantly talks about team trophies being more important than individual awards. For a 22-year-old worth 140 million euros, that mindset is rare. Now, let's talk about why everyone's buzzing about Pedri right now, because this 2024-25 season has been absolutely mental. First, that goal against Levante in August. Barcelona were down 2-0 and looking dead in the water. Then, Pedri steps up with this ridiculous curled effort from outside the box that helps turn the game into a 3-2 win. Not only did it save Barcelona 3 points, but it won La Liga's goal of the month. That's the kind of moment that separates good players from great ones. But the Turkey game on September 6th? That was different. That was Pedri showing he's ready to carry Spain into the next generation. 2 goals in a 6-0 win isn't just about the numbers, it's about how he dictated the tempo from minute 1. The first goal came in the 6th minute, a perfectly timed run and clinical finish. The second, pure class, picking his spot like he had all day. What's crazy is the consistency. This isn't a purple patch, it's been building for months. In the Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid, he scored from outside the box in a 3-2 win. That's the kind of goal that lives forever in El Clasico history. Barcelona clearly see what we all see. That contract extension until 2030, that's not just faith, that is a statement. They're saying this kid is the future of their midfield, and honestly, looking at his performances, who's going to argue? The market agrees too. His value shot up to 140 million euros, which puts him among the most expensive midfielders in world football. For a 22-year-old, that is absolutely insane. But when you watch him play, you start thinking it might actually be a bargain. Spain's coach, Luis de la Fuente, doesn't mess around with praise, but he's called Pedri the best in the world in his position. Coming from the man who guided Spain to Euro 2024 glory, that carries weight. The stats back it all up. His passing accuracy, his chance creation, his defensive contributions. Every metric shows a player who's not just talented, but incredibly well-rounded. And remember, we're talking about someone who's still 4 years away from his prime. But let's be real for a minute. Being Pedri isn't all sunshine and roses. The injury concerns are legitimate. His first few seasons at Barcelona were disrupted by fitness issues, mostly because everyone wanted to play him every minute of every game. The kid's frame isn't built like Yaya Toure or Patrick Vieira, so managing his workload became crucial. Under Hansi Flick this season, Barcelona seemed to have found the right balance. Better sports science, smarter rotation, more focus on prevention rather than cure. But the question remains, can he handle 50-plus games a season for the next decade without breaking down? Then there's the physicality debate. Some critics argue he lacks the pace and strength for the very highest level. Champions League knockout stages, World Cup finals, those massive pressure moments. It's a fair concern when you're talking about competing against players like Bellingham or Pedri's own teammate, Gavi, who bring more raw athleticism to the table. The expectation game is brutal too. Playing for Barcelona and Spain means you're automatically compared to legends. Every pass gets measured against Xavi, every dribble compared to Iniesta, every big game performance analyzed through the lens of what Andres did in 2010 or what Xavi did in 2008 to 2012. That mental pressure, it would crush most players. The fact that Pedri seems to thrive under it, it tells you something about his character. But it's still there, lurking in every interview, every social media post, every slightly off performance. So, where does Pedri actually rank among the great Spanish midfielders? It's a conversation worth having. The obvious comparisons are Xavi and Iniesta, and honestly, there are similarities. The close control, the vision, the ability to find space where none exists. Like Xavi, Pedri can dictate tempo. Like Iniesta, he can create something from nothing. But Pedri brings modern elements that even those legends didn't have. The defensive work rate is higher because today's game demands it. The pressing intensity is through the roof. The physical preparation is light years ahead of what players had 15 years ago. What might he still lack compared to those icons? Experience, obviously. Leadership, though, that is coming, and maybe the absolute killer instinct in the biggest moments. Xavi owned World Cup and Champions League finals. Iniesta scored the goal that won Spain the World Cup. Pedri's still building toward those career-defining moments. If we're talking about current midfielders, the comparisons get interesting. Bellingham brings more goals and athleticism. Gavi brings more intensity and pace. But for pure technical ability and game intelligence, well, Pedri's in a league of his own among players of his age. The scary thing is he's still improving. His goal-scoring threat is developing. We saw that against Turkey and Levante. His leadership qualities are emerging. His understanding of when to speed up or when to slow down the game is getting sharper every month. What does Pedri mean for the bigger picture? For Barcelona and Spain, he represents continuity in an age of change. At Barcelona, he's the link between the old guard and the new generation, playing alongside Gavi, mentoring younger players like Lamine Yamal, carrying the creative burden that once belonged to Messi and Iniesta. Under Flick's system, he's become even more influential with the freedom to drift and create from different areas of the pitch. For Spain, he's part of the reason they're back at the top of international football. That Euro 2024 triumph wasn't an accident. It was built around players like Pedri, who understand Spanish football identity, but bring modern elements to it. The possession, the movement, the quick passing combinations. It's classic Spain, but evolved for today's game. Off the pitch, his influence is already visible. Young Spanish midfielders, they're studying how he plays, trying to copy his movement patterns and decision-making. That contract extension sends a message to every La Masia graduate. Stay patient, develop properly, and you can still make it to the very top. His humility keeps everything grounded. In a sport full of egos and drama, Pedri consistently deflects individual praise toward team achievement. That's the kind of attitude that builds dynasties. So, what's next for Pedri? The trajectory looks absolutely incredible. This season, Barcelona have genuine Champions League ambitions, and how Pedri performs in those knockout stages will define the next chapter of his career. Can he be the difference in a semi-final against Manchester City? Can he control a final against Real Madrid? Those are the moments that separate very good players from legends. The World Cup 2026 is massive for Spain, and Pedri will be 24. Right in his prime. If Spain can win that tournament with him pulling the strings, we're talking about a career-defining achievement at an age most players are just hitting their peak. Individual recognitions could follow. A Ballon d'Or nomination? Definitely possible if Barcelona win the Champions League and Spain perform well internationally. The foundation is already there. What I'm really watching for, though, is his evolution as a leader. Can he become Barcelona's captain someday? Can he be the player other stars want to play alongside? His performances suggest yes, but time will tell. The stats to keep an eye on: key passes per game, big game performances, injury record, and goal contributions. If those numbers stay strong, we could be watching the early stages of a truly legendary career. Here's the truth about Pedri. He's already achieved more at 22 than most players do in entire careers. European Championship winner, Copa del Rey hero, La Liga champion, €140 million valuation, and the respect of coaches who've worked with the very best. But what makes him special isn't just the talent, it's the combination of technical mastery, tactical intelligence, work ethic, and humility. He doesn't just play beautiful football, he plays winning football. The scary part? He's probably only scratched the surface of what he can achieve. If this is Pedri at 22, imagine what he'll be at 26. What's your favorite Pedri moment so far? Was it that stunning goal against Levante, the brace against Turkey, or maybe something from El Clasico? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And here's a question for you. Do you think Pedri can win the Ballon d'Or in the next 5 years? If Barcelona dominate Europe and Spain succeed internationally, he might just be in the conversation.